The NFL Combine is a great way to boost your draft stock. We've seen numerous wide receivers fly up draft boards after they had a great performance at the event. Most notably, I think of John Ross. He ran a 4.22 40-yard dash time a few years ago and ended up getting taken in the top 10. While he did become a huge bust, that event did help his draft stock soar. We may have seen someone run a faster time than him though. His name? Tyquan Thornton. Apparently, he ran a 4.21 40-yard dash time, and that would have set the record. The NFL later came out and adjusted the time, but currently, there's a lot of controversy. Either way, Tyquan Thornton is going to fly up draft boards. In some people's eyes, he made NFL history, and he's always been good. So in today's video, I thought I'd spotlight who he is, talk about his career at Baylor, and why he could be a steal in the 2022 NFL Draft. But before we can get into it, nearly 80% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, and we can do better than that. So quickly be sure to hit that subscribe button, smash that like button for the algorithm, and turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload. Now, let's get started. So yeah, I've been gone off YouTube for quite a while now. I just needed some time to reevaluate everything I was doing and figure some things out, but I'm excited to be back, and we have a lot of stuff to cover in the next few weeks. Going back in time, Tyquan Thornton was born in Miami, Florida, and always loved football. Like a lot of kids in the area, he dreamed of playing in the NFL, and the guy was blessed with natural athletic abilities. Eventually, he'd get to Booker T. Washington High School in Miami, and he would have more than 1,100 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns as a senior. In terms of recruiting, it was likely going to come down to two schools, Miami and Florida. He was a borderline 4-star player with blazing speed and great production, so what school would not want to add a guy like this? Well, he actually decided he was going to go to Baylor. At the time, Art Browse was the head coach, so when he was done, he ended up reopening his recruitment, and Thornton decided to settle to play for Florida. And two very memorable Florida players actually went to Booker T. Washington High School. One of them was former quarterback Treon Harris, and he's more famous for being a meme, and then wide receiver Antonio Callaway, who was a really good player for them, but also had some off-the-field issues. So yes, he was committed to play in the SEC, but that wouldn't last long. What I also found funny is at the time, Florida also had commitments from Matt Corral and Jamar Chase, but all three of them would eventually leave. Thornton was a track standout in high school. He ran the 100-meter dash in 10.5 seconds and ran the 200-meter dash in 21.07 seconds. This led him to becoming an all-state track runner, and he was going to bring that blazing speed wherever he went. Not only was he a great receiver, but he also played quarterback during his senior year and had 3 touchdown passes. He would eventually make a change, as I alluded to earlier, as Dan Mullen came in as the next head coach at Florida, and Thornton would decide to flip back to Baylor. This shocked some people. He eventually chose the Bears over the likes of Georgia, Miami, LSU, and Tennessee. I guess he liked what Baylor had, or maybe it was just the Matt Rule effect. Either way, he'd be headed to Waco. According to 24/7 Sports, Thornton was a 4-star recruit, the number 53 receiver, and the 322nd best player in the class of 2018. So how would he do when he got there? Well, he'd have 2 really good role models, as both Jalen Hurd and Denzel Mims were stars for the Bears and would get drafted eventually. Those two would take Thornton under their wing, and he'd blossom into a really good player. With Charlie Brewer as the quarterback in 2018, Thornton had a pretty good freshman year. He caught 20 passes for 354 yards and 3 touchdowns. His best game came against Duke, as he caught 3 passes for 92 yards and a score in their loss to the Blue Devils. 2019 became a breakout season for Baylor, as Denzel Mims was one of the top receivers in the nation, and the Bears ended up being a top 10 team at one point. Thornton had a terrific year. He ended up catching 45 passes for 782 yards and 5 touchdowns. He had a couple notable performances. For example, against Oklahoma in the Big 12 Championship, he caught 2 passes for 62 yards and a touchdown. Against Kansas, he had 4 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown, and the big one came against Iowa State. In that game, he showed what his future would be, as he caught 11 passes for 141 yards and a score in their 23-21 win over the Cyclones. This led many people to believe that Tyquan was going to be a star in 2020, but how did that end up going? Well, it didn't go well. He did play well in the 4 games he got to play in, as he caught 16 passes for 158 yards and a touchdown, but Baylor was horrible on offense. He only got to play in 4 games, and that draft stock that he had built up was now all gone. Dave Aranda knew this guy was special though, and in 2021, he'd end up saving his career. Behind the arm of new quarterback Gary Bohannon, Thornton would have a terrific year. In Week 2 against Texas Southern, he set the tone for the season as he caught 5 passes for 103 yards and 2 scores. 2 weeks later, in a win over number 14 Iowa State, he caught 3 passes for 44 yards and a score, and this helped them upset the Cyclones. Baylor was 4-0 at this point, and one of those teams that had broke out and come out of nowhere. Unfortunately, they would lose to number 19 Oklahoma State, but the following week, Thornton took it personally. He caught 8 passes for 187 yards and 2 scores as they killed West Virginia 45-20 and got back on track. In their Week 7 matchup with number 19 BYU, he'd once again catch 5 passes for 84 yards and help them knock off the number 19 Cougars. Thornton would continue to have a great season as he'd help them beat Texas with 5 catches, go for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in a close loss to TCU, and then in a upset win over number 8 Oklahoma, he caught 4 passes for 41 yards and a touchdown. Thornton would then help them beat both Kansas State and Texas Tech to clinch a spot in the Big 12 championship game. This game was incredible. It was against number 5 Oklahoma State, and in that game, Thornton caught 6 passes for 71 yards and a touchdown, and they ended up beating Oklahoma State 21-16 after the Cowboys could not get in and were stopped at the 1-inch yard line. Because of that, Baylor was selected to play in the Sugar Bowl, and Thornton did not decide to opt out. While he only had 1 catch for 2 yards in that game, he would leave it going out on top as that 1 catch went for a touchdown. In 2021, Thornton caught a total of 62 passes for 948 yards and 10 touchdowns. Because of his breakout 2021 performance, he was named a second-team All-Big 12 player and was now seen as a likely Day 3 selection in the 2022 NFL Draft. Everyone knew he had production and blazing speed, but would it be good enough for teams to want to take a flyer on him? At the Combine, he got an opportunity to show the world what he was made of. In terms of his impact on Baylor though, he finished as a top 10 receiver in both receiving touchdowns and receiving yards. He's 10th on the list with 2,242 career receiving yards, and he's 10th in terms of touchdowns as he is tied with Melvin Bonner and Lawrence Elkins with 19. On March 3rd at the NFL Combine, Tyquan Thornton shocked everyone as he ran a 4.21 40-yard dash time. This obviously broke John Ross's record of 4.22, but later the NFL came out and said that it was wrong. There was a lot of debate going on social media and in the scouting world whether that time is accurate, but if it did stand, he would have been the fastest player in this year's draft and any draft since the Combine started. But in terms of Thornton's actual transition to the NFL, what do the scouts think? So basically, this scout is saying that this guy is nothing more than a fast, deep ball player, but if he can develop other areas of his game, then he has the opportunity to become a star. Right now, I see Thornton as a Day 2 or Day 3 selection, and if I had to put money on it, I would say he's a 4th through 7th round guy. We will have to wait and see how he does at the rest of the Combine and what scouts begin to think in the next 2 months. I've watched a lot of Baylor football over the last few years, and Thornton is the real deal and was always projected to be that next great receiver behind Hurd and Mims. What do you guys think? What do you think of this year's receiving class? Do you think the 40-yard dash time is overrated? And let me know what receiver or prospect I could take a look at in my next video. Before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other 2022 NFL Draft videos and anything else on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.